Alright, the purpose of this video is to show how to set up the big desktop, or Big D as it's called, interface for the Soundcraft Ui24R mixer. This is what it looks like when it first comes up, and as you can see, I've got the in the edit view the gain showing at the top, and then you always have the mixer sliders at the bottom, and then you can put other things on top. You can put dynamic EQ per channel that you can see for each channel. You can put sends, showing what's going on with the sends. If something's in a send, you can see that. And then there's a general information overview, which is pretty small, but it shows you a very comprehensive picture of what's going on. Then you can also see the channel information at the top. All right, this is the computer I'm using. It's a mini PC, $200. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM and a 256 gigabyte SSD, and it comes pre-installed with Windows 11 Pro, and it has all the connections I need. Here's what the connections look like. So in my setup, I have to use 2 connections, well, 3 connections. For the touchscreen monitor, the HDMI port and a USB 3 port. The USB 3 port is for the touchscreen capability of the monitor. The HDMI is the actual display. And then the USB, the LAN, of course, and that's the Ethernet connection. The monitor I went with is this ViewSonic TD2455 24-inch 10-point multi-touch monitor. This is the one I ended up getting, partly because it has a VESA, V-E-S-A mount on the back for the stand, but I ended up not using the stand. I was able to instead attach my mini PC to the back of the monitor. The other nice thing is that the mini PC comes with all the cables you need to make the attachment. The only cable, in addition to what comes with the monitor and the mini PC, is the Ethernet cable, and that doesn't have to be anything special, a Cat 5, Cat 6, whatever. I happen to have a short one available, and since I'm just using it right now in my home studio, then I was able to use that short Cat 5 cable, and it worked fine. When I set up the mini PC, it was very simple. It was very easy. I connected the touchscreen monitor with the USB and HDMI cables, turned on the mini PC, fired right up, took me right through, and I could immediately see what I needed to on the touchscreen, and I was able to do everything I needed with the touchscreen. I didn't need to connect an external mouse or an external keyboard, and it was just that simple. It was just very easy, and set up a Wi-Fi connection for the internet, and I chose to do that rather than a Ethernet because I want the Ethernet to be dedicated to the UI24 interface. So I went ahead and used Wi-Fi for the initial connections and upgrading the Windows 11, that sort of thing. Now that we've selected the mini PC and touchscreen monitor, there are a few things we need to do to make sure that this works correctly. One of the first things we need to do is to turn off the Wi-Fi now that we've updated the Windows and so forth, and downloaded anything else we want to download. So I'm going to press the search at the bottom of the screen, and I'm going to click on Wi-Fi settings, which is about the third from the top in this window, and then it shows at the top the Wi-Fi, and currently I do have it turned off, but that's what you're going to need to do, is to turn that off, make sure that that's off. The next thing we're going to do is to make sure that we have the correct information in the network adapter so that we can see what it is that we need to, how we need to connect. So when we set this up, it's going to need to be on a device other than the Big D, because we don't have Big D set up yet. This is approximately what you see when you bring up a device such as a tablet. And I'm going to press the circle button up here, the settings button next to the play button at the top. I'm going to go into network, which is on the upper right here. And then I'm going to press config. It'll ask for username and password. Those are admin, A-D-M-I-N by default, lowercase. So I'll put those in, sign in. It'll allow me to change the administrator password. I'm not going to do that right now, but that can be done if you desire. I'm going to go to the next one over. That's LAN configuration. You need to make sure, first of all, that it's enabled and that the address is set to manual. The information on the Harman website indicates that these are the recommended settings, and this is what mine came preset with. I would suggest for now you use these settings even if you decide to change those later on. So the IP address is 10.10.2.1. The net mask is 255, etc. And the gateway is 10.10.2.1. So once I've set those, I'm going to save, or in this case, I've already set them, so I'm going to cancel out. And then you need to go to, and this is an important step, click on the search bar again at the bottom of your screen. I'm going to go settings. I'm going to type in settings. It'll bring up the settings app. We're going to click on that. And then on the third one down from the top, network and internet, we're going to click on that. Now this is the important thing. You cannot make these changes through the Ethernet setting. We have to go down to advanced network settings at the bottom. And again, we're going to ignore that stuff at the top. More network adapter options under related settings at the bottom. Click on that. Now we can see the layout of the different connections to the computer. If you notice, Bluetooth is disabled, Wi-Fi is not connected. So we're going to double click on the Ethernet connection. And under that, it'll bring up this pop-up. We're going to click Properties. Then it'll have this drop-down list, and the one we're interested in is Internet Protocol version 4. On my screen, it's the fourth option down. Click on that, select that, and then click Properties. This is where you're going to enter the information you obtained from the Ui24R. And you're going to not obtain it automatically. You're going to use the following IP address. So select that option. Type in the three items that you obtained from the Ui24R, the 10.10.2.1, 255, etc., and the 10.10.2.1. Once you've done that, then click OK. Close those out. Now, as long as you're set up and connected now with your to the Ui24R with the Cat5 or Cat6 cable, and that will go into the Ethernet. There are two different connections on the Ui24 that look the same. Make sure it's in the Ethernet port. Now we can bring up the Big D. Oh, and there is one other thing that we need to do before we do this. So let me show you that now. In Microsoft Edge, we're going to bring that up. They automatically set it to use what's called hardware acceleration, and you don't want that because it produces a very laggy experience with the UI24R Big D setup. So on the upper right corner, there's 3 dots. We're going to click on that. Going to go all the way down almost to the bottom for settings. Click on settings. And rather than trying to find out where it is, I'm just going to type in hardware. It's a little bit slow. And start, yeah. So hardware X, and then you can see on this this menu that brought up, use hardware acceleration when available. You must turn that off. So slide that and turn that off. And once you do that, then you'll get a good experience with the Big D desktop interface. So let's go ahead and bring that up. Now I've set up a desktop icon, and I'll show you what the properties are. When you first bring up a browser to access the Big D desktop, you do it by using the 10.10.2.1 in the address bar of your browser. Once you're there, and once it brings up the Big D desktop, you can copy and paste that information into this URL for your shortcut, desktop shortcut. So as you can see, it has that there. I can then now use this desktop shortcut to access the Big D desktop. I don't have to go through an additional screen. It does it right there. Now, one other thing to be aware of, and this is why I've connected an external typing keyboard, and I do that by connecting that keyboard to one of the USB ports on the side of the touchscreen monitor. It's just easier to get in and out of the full desktop and to type labels and so forth for channels and that sort of thing. But let's go ahead, before we show more of that, let's activate the Big D desktop. So we're going to click on the settings icon, go over to local on the top right, and then you're going to click Big Desktop Mode for Mix. Click on, and you're going to click OK. So it's going to bring it up now with the Big D showing. And there we have it. We can use full screen by either clicking on the 3 dots on the upper right corner of the browser, and then on the zoom row, 4th down, that double arrow that is slanted, you can click on that. And as it shows, you can press F11. Now, you should be able to run your finger at the top on a touch screen, but you can't do that with the UI24R on, so you have to turn that off before it'll allow you to do that. So I choose instead to use an external keyboard. Then I can just use the F11 function to turn it off and on. And there you have the wonderful Big D interface.